Good morning. Hi, this is Cassandra Diggs, and we are here with Believe Beyond Your Circumstance. Believe Beyond Your Circumstance. Alrighty, folks. This week, I tried to avoid it again, but it seems like certain topics are coming up that it is best that I address just out of obedience. Obedience and mine being obedience to God, what He's telling me to do, what I feel He wants me to do. So, today we're going to be talking about physical abuse. Physical abuse, whether it's in a marriage, whether it's in a relationship. And this is actually an area that I've never really talked about publicly, but I pray that even this discussion would help someone, someone to wake up, someone to look around their settings, someone to realize that they are worth more than their present situation. Because it seems that physical abuse, specifically, all forms of abuse, but specifically, we're going to be talking about physical. Um, this seems to be at an epidemic. Even see it as early as high schoolers are dealing with assault in relationships. For myself, the abuse was when I was in my second marriage, and I was ashamed, uh, even for having to go this through the situation, especially having been through one marriage and I was in a second one. I felt like, okay, a second failure, it was too much, and I stayed. Okay, I could blame him for the physical abuse. I could have blamed myself for the abuse because there are many times I fought back, etc. I felt like I could blame my church because I didn't want to be labeled failure in marriage, let alone the second time. But later, years later, healings later, I can take full responsibility of marrying a man that had broken my wrist prior to our marriage. Yes, I did say prior. I made the decision to marry him. Why? Now, this is the part that comes back to me. I had no self esteem, not low. I had no self esteem, no self love. I made the decision. I chose to believe the letters, the apologies that years later he said were all lies. But this discussion really isn't about him. Maybe in small part, but for the most part, I want to focus on me and my responsibility to take care of myself. I didn't value myself, y'all. I didn't value my worth. I had no vision. I had no goals for my life other than raising my three babies at that time. And I praised God at that time that that was enough to keep me going. But what if you don't have children? Know that with or without children, you were created for a purpose to fulfill. And that purpose was not to get beat up on them. Okay? That wasn't why you were created. And to be quite honest, y'all, it took at least 7 attempts with three babies before I left. And that was over a number of years. So that was a number of times living in a one bedroom, sleeping on the floor on blankets with a pillow and a TV, sleeping in a hotel, sleeping at the Red Roof Inns. Whenever he'd apologize, because it was so hard that I'd go back. And honestly, y'all, I was ashamed when I took the time. I was ashamed of the person I had become. Yes, sometimes even sleeping in shelters, women's shelters. I was ashamed of the person that I was and that I had become. I was one person at home. Some days were good, other days were really bad. I was a different person at church, a different person at work. I was a different person with extended friends and family. So, yeah, it was confusing, very confusing, especially to me. But I was finally, After all those many attempts over those many years, I was finally strong enough to leave him. Years later, after establishing myself and my kids, we were separated. I was getting child support. I was working full time, taking care of my babies and myself. Um, Beautiful apartment, a new car, great schools the kids were in, beautiful friendships that allowed him back into my life. Now, he was always part of the children's life, but I allowed him back into my life. And at that particular time, I felt about 80 or 90% sure that this was a really bad idea, but we had consulted with a pastor who was unfortunately unskilled in abusive marriages. And he said, when I was considering moving back from the DC, Virginia, Maryland area, and he told my now former husband that I would never let my family move cross country without me. And he said, "Okay, that's exactly what I'm going to do." So I allowed listening to the pastor against my better judgment, only because I was 80, 90% sure that this was probably not a good idea. I allowed my husband back into our lives. And so my husband and I, we moved the family back to the Texas area. And yes, you guessed it. Even with periodic counseling, because he didn't want to attend, the abuse began again. Humiliated, mad, pissed, I had fallen for the same thing again. And here, don't beat yourselves up when you fall down. It's emotional, it's mental, it's physical, it's financial. Just get back up and try it again. Okay? After many months of now my ex husband not helping with respect to uh, the paying mortgages or bills, and definitely, first and foremost, the abuse, I told him that you got to go. You just got to go. And I kind of left it at that. But he exploded. He had said huge, degrading verbal abuse. And I was so shocked by what he said. I didn't argue. I just really kind of turned around and walked away because from the counseling that I was taking and just seeing the situations, I knew that me getting upset wasn't hurting, it wasn't helping. And so at that particular time, I walked away. The kids, all the kids were already at school and things of that nature. And I went to prepare just to get dressed, leave for work. And when I ignored him, that made him furious. So I went to our bedroom. I sat on the side of the bed, and this gets really hard. So if you want to fast forward about 20 seconds, do so. When I sat on the side of the bed, my former husband grabbed me by my legs and pulled me off the side of the bed. And at that particular time, he broke my spine. I didn't realize that till years later. So I caught my breath, got up, went and took my shower, and went to work. At that time as well, I decided that if he didn't go, that I would probably kill him. Yep, it was at that point. So to be sure that my children had a parent to raise them, I chose to have them removed from our home. I chose myself, my kids, our future. I chose to believe beyond that particular circumstance. Just like I chose to marry him, I later chose to better myself and to better our situations. So, yeah, he was removed. I didn't look back, filed for divorce as soon as I could. That was now good 14 years later. So, it is possible to leave a dangerous situation. Okay? You may not choose to divorce, but definitely choose to separate for your safety, your kids' safety. Seek counseling, okay? For yourself, for your family, for your situation. Confide in a friend, confide in a family member. Go to a shelter, a local church, ask for help. If you're still school age, go to a guidance counselor, a teacher, an adult, an advisor, someone that you can talk to because it is possible. Because now, what, 14, 16 years later, I have three amazing young adults who do still sometimes deal with pains of the past because they did have to continue to go through that situation even after the divorce. Uh, Not with the respect to the abuse, the physical abuse that I went through, but there was some emotional. So there are going to be some scars, but those are often distant scars that they know how to, and they have the tools, and we have the tools to separate from. Okay. Praise God, I am whole. I'm healed from that abusive relationship and marriage. And yet we still have to communicate from time to time, whether it's a text, whether it's a phone call, but that may be once a year. Okay. And also know that there are tools, especially now with so many great information that's available on YouTube, where you can fill your thoughts with positive, life giving messages and inspirations to help you to realize your purpose. I love listening to Terry Savelle Foy Ministries, to Sarah Jakes Roberts, to Crystal Evans Hurst, to Joyce Myers. Fill your mind with these things. Was it hard? Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was very hard at times. Was it worth it? 1,000 times over. And know that you're worth it as well. Even if you may have visible scars, you are worth it. Okay? You're still here for a reason and a purpose to fulfill within this earth. And I thank God for you. Okay? I hope this episode helps someone, whether it's a male or female, to do better for themselves, to believe beyond their present circumstance. Okay? Please keep moving forward. Believe beyond your circumstance. Love you. Talk to y'all soon. Bye.